What's up, everybody? Welcome to the House of Mario, the South Australian Nintendo podcast that is backed by a 120 Power Star rating. I'm your host, Drew Agnew, and the doors to episode 167 are open. This week on the show, we're talking about Nintendo's huge 2020 physical year sales and much more. And the talk all about that is just me this week, which is it's kind of weird because last week it was just Bryce and now it's just me. We're having a bit of trouble sort of trying to link things up the last couple of weeks, mainly just because of work and life commitments and stuff. This week Bryce was actually at a friend's wedding, so I'm recording this on a Sunday, so I think he's quite tired, and I think he's actually got his sister's birthday dinner to get organised and go to, so he's got a bit going on with the family and friends at the moment, but he'll be back next week, no doubt. So yeah, it's all good fun. I wasn't on last week because we're shearing at our family farm, and it was really hot on the Monday and all that, so I'm like, you know what, Bryce, yeah, I can't do it. There's either no episode or it's just you. So I listened to the episode like any of you guys. I sat down. Oh, I didn't sit down. I was listening with my wireless headphones at work, and I actually quite enjoyed it. I was like, Bryce is a mate of mine, so I've the time to sit down and listen to him whenever, whether it's podcast form or in person. But I actually didn't get around to playing the Age of Calamity demo, so hearing his sort of thoughts on the story and everything was quite good. So if you haven't listened to episode 166, go back and have a listen to Bryce talk all about that demo. Bryce is very knowledgeable about the Legend of Zelda series, so it was really great hearing his take on that. So yes, it's just me, so there's a lot of news to get through. But I want to address a couple of things. This is a massive week in real life and in gaming. It's just massive. So obviously, at the time of recording this, the US election is beginning to wrap up. The Democrats and Joe Biden have seemed to win it. They've already done their speech and everything. And I just want to sort of, like, all I've got to say about this, there's no being discriminatory about different sides and politics. Obviously, I'm Australian. I'm in Australia. I got no horse in the race, but it is just a breath of fresh air to be like, the man's gone. The man's gone from the White House, because Americans, like, your president really does affect the rest of the world. And it was just getting sort of very tiring, as a lot of you guys might know. But anyone who's disappointed by the news, I'm sorry about that. But just a real nice sort of breath of fresh air for, I think a lot of us, especially like in the sort of gaming circles on Twitter and everything, a lot of people do lean left. And even if you don't lean left in politics, you might be like, you know what, I'm not going to associate myself with the right so much. But I'm not so much a political guy, but yeah, it is really nice to see that America stepped up and done I guess what I view as the right thing, put people over anything else. So I hope going forward for the next 4 years in the States, things start to sort of heal a bit more. But regardless, in a bit more fun news, this week is a massive week for, not so much on the Nintendo side, or not on the Nintendo side at all, to be honest. There's nothing really coming out. But, I'm sure we're not living under a rock. The PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are coming out, and man, I'm excited. I've got pre-orders for both coming in. The Xbox Series X is coming out on the Tuesday, and the PS5 is coming out on the Thursday, and just so excited for both. I've got my pre-order for the Series X coming from Target. Looking forward to setting it up, downloading heaps of stuff onto Game Pass, and getting Call of Duty. What was it called? Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Looking forward to playing a Call of Duty game. It's been about 4 years since I bought one. And played through it. The last one I played through was Advanced Warfare, and that was the one with Kevin Spacey as the actor in it. It's quite a good story. Obviously, we try not to talk about Kevin Spacey too much anymore. He's one of those people that's come out to be not so much of a good person. But regardless, I did find that campaign a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to just going through the big booms and explosions again. And the PS5, yeah, I've been looking at a lot of unboxings and a lot of things as the embargoes have slowly broken out throughout the week. I'm really looking forward to it, man. I'm really looking forward to playing Demon Souls. I haven't really gotten to a Souls game before. I actually got Dark Souls on a sale on Nintendo eShop, and I never got around to playing it. I bought it like in April, and April's a pretty busy period of the year for me as well. But it was like $20 or something. So I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And I bought it, and I never gave it a go. But with Demon Souls on PS4, not PS4, PS5, I'm going to be mixing up them quite a bit over the next few months, I dare say. But looking forward to giving that Souls genre a go. I really like the aesthetic and everything. That's what got me into make a pre-order on the game. So looking forward to that. And even like a not Little Big Planet, Sackboy: A Big Adventure. It looks like Mario 3D World. It looks like an absolutely fantastic platformer. Looking forward to getting into it. I really haven't seen that much from it, but from the gameplay we've seen, it looks like just a really fun platformer. A couple of days ago, it got announced that online co-op has been delayed, but that's all good. I was going to play it by myself at home anyway. But it looks like a really fun platformer that does take some inspiration from 3D World, which was an absolutely fantastic game that's coming out to the Switch next year. So really looking forward to that. And what was the other PS? Spider-Man Miles Morales. Holy shit. Cannot wait for that one either. So I think like the rest of the year, honestly, is going to be dominated by these new consoles coming out. And I'm not necessarily so worried about that. Like, since the Switch came out in 2017, I kind of dropped the PlayStation because, like, I've been a massive PlayStation fan for, I guess it's coming up to 10 years or so. Like, I got into it in the PS3 generation because I really like the exclusives on that, and going to the PS4, it just got better and better. But since the Switch came out, I enjoyed that system so much that I just sort of dropped off of playing every single PlayStation exclusive. So I'm hoping I can sort of try and keep up with the PlayStation exclusives again. But like, I know realistically it probably won't happen, but looking forward to getting into it, because realistically on Switch, the only thing that I'm like really looking forward to is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And that's mainly because of the story and not necessarily the gameplay. I got the demo downloaded, but I'm kind of hesitant to start it. Because I know if I play it now and have like 2 weeks a gap between like those story beats, I know like I'm gonna like forget things and like forget where I am and maybe forget some of the gameplay and all that. I know it's only a couple of weeks at this point, but I would like just to play it all, together. So I think at this stage I'm gonna leave the demo untouched and just play the full game when it comes out, because it's not too long now. And I'm looking at my schedule for the next like 3 weeks. So I've got a Bucks show coming up. One of my friends is getting married, so doing that one weekend. But another one, I'm going up to Adelaide because my partner brought a new car, so we're going up to get that. But the next weekend is that same mate's wedding, so there's a lot of weekends filled in there. So I don't know how much game time I'm going to get with my new consoles, but obviously with the power of the Switch, I can put it in my pocket and I can take it with me. So, I mean, that's all good. Thank God. Thank God for portable systems, because portable systems have always fit into my lifestyle. So, really grateful that Nintendo are still making them. And I think judging by a lot of the news that we're going to go through, just system sales, hardware sales, game sales, just everything to do with all this stuff, a lot of people are thankful that Nintendo are making a portable system. And they've really found a fantastic, I was going to say niche, but it's a bit bigger than just a niche. But before we get into the news this week, guys, I just checked to see if we had any new iTunes reviews or Apple Podcast reviews before we jump into it. And we actually do. I was very surprised. It's been a bit of a drought, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a while since we've had a review. But this is a 5-star review from Bung Holio at 49SJ. And I love that name. I don't know if that's a Beavis and Butthead reference. Like, Bung Holio. I don't know exactly, but love the name. If I'm pronouncing it wrong or I'm reading it wrong, I'd like to think I'm not, because that sounds funny. But very to the point, they say, great show. The hosts have a great flow together. And thank you very much, Bungholio. Sorry for the last couple of weeks. We are not on together, so we do not have much of a flow together because we are not talking with one another. But sort of when we get out of this busy season, which I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know if it's going to be after Christmas or whatever, but it will be a pretty wild ride as far as work and family and commitments go up, but we will keep this podcast going. So if anyone would like to add to our podcast reviews, you can go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review there. It really does help out the show. Somehow we have gone down from a 5-star rating overall to a 4.9 out of 5. So we've lost 1 point. So there's one person out there who's, I don't know what they reviewed us at, but where it was just like out of 4 or something, it's just like taken 1 point out. But regardless, we're at 50 ratings on Apple Podcasts, so that's really cool. Really, really helpful, guys. So thank you so much for that. So without further ado, let's get into some of the news because there's a fair bit. And I guess that's kind of the good thing about doing a solo podcast because I can get through it a bit quicker. Maybe. We'll see anyway.
Woohoo! Yeah! Is that all?
I fight for my friends.
Yahoo!
My body is still
All right, so the fiscal year results are out for Nintendo, and just to start off with, I don't know, like a lot of people out there might not find all of this stuff that interesting. If you're listening to a Nintendo podcast, if you're going out and like looking for it in particular, you might find this type of stuff pretty interesting. I know I do. I follow like a lot of the video game industry pretty closely, even though like I don't get to play a whole lot of games just with how, being an adult is, unfortunately. But I follow very closely. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'll read a lot of articles and all that just about video games, and I do find sales very interesting. So let's start off with the hardware sales. So Nintendo Switch is now at 68.30 million units and has sold 456.49 million units. And yeah, so it's gone up quite a bit, of quite a few million units, which we'll get into later. But now the Nintendo Switch has outsold the NES, the Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Nintendo GameCube, and it's I wouldn't say it's getting to the point where it might be taking over the Game Boy Advance. It's still got quite a while to go to reach that family of systems, but the Game Boy Advance ended its life at 81.51 million units. So it's got quite a bit to go, but the Game Boy Advance overall, obviously the Game Boy Advance did not have that long a life. It only had about, 3 or 4 years before Nintendo brought out the DS and sort of cut the life cord for the Game Boy Advance. But for the software sales for Game Boy Advance, it sold 377 million units. So Nintendo Switch, 456 million units for its software sales, is actually outselling it by quite a bit. And that's the important sort of metric you want. Like Nintendo puts out their system and most of their profits come from selling their own games and selling third-party games at their 30% cut that they get. And I guess more to the point too, the Nintendo 3DS is probably the next in the sight for Nintendo Switch to take over hardware sales. Nintendo 3DS finished at 75.94 million units. So it's still got quite a bit. By the time we get the next financial results, I dare say it wouldn't have quite taken over the 3DS. Depends on how strong the holiday sales that the Switch has at the end of the day. I do think that it's going to have quite a strong Christmas just with its game library and everything it's got out at the moment. And just talking about the PS4 and Xbox Series X, they're going to, they would have sold out ASAP. I don't think you'll be able to get one if you just go into a store, and maybe if you're really lucky. I think there's been a couple of articles and a couple of things around that stores will have them online like at launch, but it's going to be hard. So a lot of families might be like, well, all right, we can't get the really expensive PlayStation, but the Switch and the Switch Lite are on a good sale at the moment. So maybe we'll sell Switches like that. And so to jump a bit more into it, there's an article from gamesindustry.biz, and the title is Nintendo raises forecast as H1 profits triple to 2.8 billion. And when I go through this article, I might stumble a bit just because I'm going to be cutting out the yen and just say in American dollars rather than read out the yen. So I've got to cut it out. So there might be a bit of a bit of silence just like that before I read out the actual stats. So let's jump into it. So the article reads, Nintendo has released its results for the first half of its fiscal year, showing a dramatic increase in profits. For the first 6 months ended September 30th, net sales were reported at 7.4 billion, up 73% from the 4.3 billion recorded during the same period last year. Of this, overseas sales accounted for 5.7 billion, or 77.5% of the total. The surge in sales contributed to 209 year-on-year rise in operating profit, now at 2.8 billion, while ordinary profit is up 249% to 2.85 billion. The platform holder did not attribute the growth to anything in particular, but it's a safer bet that the pandemic and its major impact on people's increased appetite for video games has been a major factor. Following a successful start to its financial year, Nintendo has increased its forecast for the 12 months ended March 31st, 2020. Net sales are now expected to reach 13.4 billion, up from 11.4 billion. Operating profit estimates have been increased from 2.9 billion to 4.3 billion, while ordinary profit has been raised from 2.8 billion to 4.2 billion. By comparison, net sales have for the previously released year were 12.5 billion, with operation profit at 3.4 billion and ordinary profit to 3.5 billion. Hardware sales for the 6-month period rose 80% year on year to 12.553 billion units. Of which the primary model of the Switch accounted for 8.36 billion, with 4.17 million Switch units sold. That's up from 1.95 million lights sold at the same period last year, although it's worth noting that the handheld device launched in September, so it's less than a month's sales. The Switch Lite has now sold more than 10 million units, with the console's total lifetime sales at 68.3 million. That means 1 out of every 7 Switch units sold has been a Lite. Nintendo raised its hardware sales forecast for the financial year up from 19 million units to 24 million units. Software sales saw a 71.4% lift compared to the same 6-month period last year, recorded at 100.25 million units. This includes both box and digital versions of games, although does not count download-only software or add-on content. More than 156 million Switch games have been sold since the launch of the console in March 2017. Digital continues to be a key driver of Nintendo's growth, with a download sales up 139% year on year to 1.6 billion. This accounts for 47.2% of all software sales in the first half of the fiscal year, but in the first quarter this was as high as 55.6%. Super Mario 3D All-Stars was the biggest new release, launching in September to coincide with the 35th anniversary of the original Super Mario Bros. It's already shifted 5.21 million units worldwide. Meanwhile, Paper Mario The Origami King is a surprise release this July, and it has sold 2.82 million units. Animal Crossing New Horizons was by far the company's biggest seller for the period, shifting 14.27 million units. Super Mario 3D All-Stars was the second biggest seller. The latest Animal Crossing has now sold 26.04 million units since launching in March. Other ongoing sellers include Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 4.21 million units so far this financial year. And it says a Rift Fit here, but Ring Fit Adventure at 2.11 million units. Mario Kart still stands as the Switch's best-selling game of all time, just shy of 29 million units. There were 20 titles that have been sold more than a million units during this financial year, including 5 unspecified third-party titles. Titles such as Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Party, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Super Mario Odyssey, and Splatoon 2 more than doubled their sales compared to the same period last year, each at a million units. Nintendo's mobile business continues to grow steadily, with sales at 33.9% year on year to 256 million. So a lot to take in there, guys. Obviously, Nintendo is going very well, and with the sort of pandemic and Animal Crossing success throughout the year, it's just been a massive, massive year for Nintendo. And sort of going off all of this as well, that Nintendo's sort of shortages for Nintendo Switch have eased. So this is a quote from the president, Mr. Furukawa. The Switch hardware momentum remains strong, and we think that's because production has recovered, so customers who were previously unable to find a Switch on store shelves are now able to, said Furukawa. He said that the Switch production situation has now completely recovered, and we have no issues with that, end quote. As a result, Nintendo's Switch system should no longer be hard to find online or in stores. So a bit of relief for anyone who's looking for a Nintendo Switch out there. And just to go through sort of the game sales before we sit down and talk about some of this bit more. So the top 10 best-selling games on the Nintendo Switch are now New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at 8.32 million units, Splatoon 2 at 11.27 million units, Super Mario Party at 12.10 million units, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee together at 12.47 million units. And a big jump to Mario Odyssey at 18.99 million units, so it's very close to 19 million. Pokemon Sword and Shield at 19.02 million units. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at 19.74 million units. And Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 21.10 million units. Animal Crossing New Horizons at 26.04 million units. And at number 1, obviously still there, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 28.99 million units. So just over a million units shy of 30 million units. The first Nintendo Switch game to reach that milestone. And we'll no doubt see that next financial quarter. So a lot to sort of digest here, that Nintendo has had an amazing sort of sales, and they've upped their sort of projections for each category, whether it is how many Nintendo Switch units they want to ship and sell, or game software and all that. And relatively, 2020 has been a pretty quiet year for Nintendo. Obviously, we've seen a fair few sort of games out there, but really it hasn't been that big a year for Nintendo. We've had Paper Mario The Origami King, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, was it 51 worldwide games, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. That's sort of what we've had over 2020, and it's been, I guess it's kind of been underwhelming compared to some of the previous years. But comparing it to some of the previous years, especially 2017, when the Switch came out and we got Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, ARMS, that was just a fantastic year. And I think that's the year to beat for me. That was an absolutely amazing year, just in video games in general. Obviously, even on the PlayStation side, we had Horizon and Persona 5. Just it was a crazy year. Could not keep up with the games coming out that year. So it has been sort of a slower year for Nintendo, but as far as it's shown just from their sales of the Switch that they really didn't need those titles. They can sort of hold some back, and maybe next year when they're trying to get some attention away from the PS5 and Xbox Series X, when they're back in stock and people are going to pick them up, maybe that's when they'll have Breath of the Wild 2 or the next Mario title or something in their canon ready to go. And I also found it really interesting as well, the Switch Lite sales. So a few weeks ago, we read out some sort of comments from Michael Pachter, who is an industry analyst, and he says some things that make sense, and he says some things that don't make sense. But the last sort of comment we read out, that he said that Nintendo pretty much they're stupid and they should get rid of the Switch because everyone just plays it in handheld mode. No one plays it on the TV. But from the stats we have here now, like the updated stats from September 30th, which weren't long ago at all, Nintendo Switch Lite has sold a bit over 10 million. So I guess 1 in every 7 Switch users has a Switch Lite. So there's just way more normal original Switches out there. So it might go against his point because people aren't going out there buying just a Switch Lite. And even less people would probably have just a Switch Lite, because I know like a lot of people have gone out and bought a Switch Lite on top of their original Switch. It's people like me who bought their Switch Lite and said, you know what, I want that Pokemon one as well. So they might own multiple Switch Lites or multiple Switches or however it goes. So it is now we've actually got some statistics. It is a silly thing to look at. But regardless as well, the games that came out this year have sold really well. So Paper Mario the Origami King is at 2.82 million units. Super Mario 3D All-Stars, as we stated before, is at 5.21 million. 51 Worldwide Games has sold 1.81 million units. Animal Crossing New Horizons, which is nuts. Like, just compare this stat to the rest of the games that came out in this list. Animal Crossing New Horizons at 26.04 million units. Hasn't even been 12 months, guys. Like, I don't know. This is like Call of Duty numbers across 3 platforms. That is nuts. And what we got here? Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. So last reported, I was at 1.26 million units. And it doesn't actually have a new figure. That was its last update. So it mustn't have sold too much more. And I can't imagine it selling too much more. I think the people that wanted it probably got it. Obviously, it sold quite well when it came out. I bought it because it was the first game in the series, and I really liked the Mystery Dungeon series. So it was a cool thing that they remade that game. Still haven't actually finished it though, because I sort of lost interest in it a bit. And Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition sold 1.4 million units, which is really great for that series. So yeah, Nintendo Switch games that came out this year sold really well. And just a bit more information about Xenoblade Chronicles. So not the definitive edition, but the game that came out in 2017, so Xenoblade Chronicles 2, has now officially sold over 2 million copies. So this is just grabbing a bit of an article from finalweapon.net. So they say Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has officially sold over 2 million copies worldwide as of Nintendo's latest financial report. The game sold over 160,000 copies in the past 6 months and is Monolith Soft's first game to sell over 2 million copies. So just a massive, massive milestone for Monolith Soft, and just massive for this sort of genre of game. It's obviously a very kind of niche game. It's not a Legend of Zelda game. It's not a Pokemon game. It's not a Smash Bros game. So having this level of sales is just fantastic. And there's a couple more games that have had similar successes as well. The sales for Paper Mario the Origami King now put that game as the fastest selling Paper Mario game ever. So just grabbing this from Nintendo Life. In Nintendo's latest 6-month earning report, it was revealed that Paper Mario The Origami King has sold 2.82 million copies in less than 3 months. So how does this compare to the previous entries in the series? Following in the footsteps from the other first-party Nintendo releases this generation, this means that The Origami King is now the fastest-selling Paper Mario game ever. Super Paper Mario on the Wii was the previous record holder, reportedly shifting 2.28 million units in about a year. Despite losing the title as the fastest selling Paper Mario entry, Super Paper Mario still has the most lifespan sales, approximately at 4.23 million units. As with all past games on the Switch, it seems that the success and the ongoing demand for the system itself has played a huge part in the latest Paper Mario sales. So, I definitely expect the Origami King to outsell Super Paper Mario as well. They've only got a bit over, or a bit under 2 million more units to go, and that was its sales from the first 3 months. So it's got plenty of time to catch up and be the best-selling game in that series. And continuing this trend of the best-selling games in the series, Fire Emblem Three Houses is now the best-selling entry in the entire series. So this is also from Nintendo Life. So Nintendo's latest sales data reveals that Fire Emblem Three Houses has now shifted 3.02 million units worldwide. This makes it the best-selling entry in the entire Fire Emblem series as of June this year. It's taken the crown from Fire Emblem Fates on 3DS. So that's going into that. So just massive success all around for Nintendo franchises. The Switch continues to absolutely kill it. Whatever they put onto this thing, it just seems to break records for whether it's just records in general or records for series by series. So Fire Emblem, that was once a series that was going to be cancelled if it wasn't for Awakening's success on 3DS. And now it's going on just to break records in that own series. And Paper Mario as well. It's just really great to see. Fire Emblem, it's a game that I love the characters and I love the aesthetic, but the gameplay isn't necessarily my favorite thing to do. I wish it was. It's one of those things where I just I want it to click with me, but it just doesn't necessarily click with me, as well as like Smash Bros or Mario, Zelda, some of these more like action-based games. But I'm really happy to see that Nintendo's got some good success here, because it seems weird to sort of like root for like a $1 billion company as like your team. But for the most part, Nintendo does put out just great products. Like Fire Emblem Three Houses was a great product, and it's great to see that they're seeing results, seeing it sell well, break records for their own franchise. Some of these franchises like Fire Emblem and like Paper Mario. Well, Paper Mario doesn't really count because it is a part of Mario, I guess. But it's good to see that they're like growing the brands that we really enjoy. So moving a little bit away from Nintendo, I guess this is to Niantic's Pokemon Go now, and with the global pandemic and everything that's happened over the last year, Pokemon Go has seen quite a big increase in spending, and I can sort of put my hand up and say, yeah, I actually did spend a bit more money on Pokemon Go this year because of what was going on and some of the changes they made. Because some of the changes they made in Pokemon Go were quite appealing before they changed some of them back. Because I haven't spent money in it for probably 3 or 4 months at this point. So this is an article from gamesindustry.biz, and the title is Pokemon Go's 2020 revenues estimated at $1 billion so far. So the article reads, Sensor Tower estimates that Pokemon Go has already surpassed $1 billion in player spending so far this year. Revenues for the first 10 months of 2020 are 30% higher than the same time last year and 11% higher than the entirety of 2019, according to the company's blog post. Since its launch in 2016, Pokemon Go has taken more than just shy of $4.2 billion in player spending globally. The US is the game's biggest market at $1.5 billion, 36.3% of total spending. Japan is the second with $1.3 billion and 31.3% of the total, followed by Germany with what we got? So Germany is, and that goes down to 57%. So it goes down quite a bit after the States and Japan. I wonder what Australia would be. We would be like point two or something. It would be like nothing. My $90 or whatever I put into it this year would be nothing. Earlier this year, developer Niantic made several changes to the game in order to make it easier for players to participate from home without having to travel to different locations as they have since launch in 2016. The changes led to an immediate spike in player spending, and Niantic has since decided to make some of these changes permanent. For the first 10 months of 2020, Pokemon Go is the third biggest game in the world of terms of spending across iOS and Android, but discontinuing third-party Android stores such as those that only operate in China. It loses out to only Tencent's PUBG Mobile and Honor of Kings, which are the first and second respectively. Most of the game's lifetime spending comes from Google Play at $2.2 billion or 53.4% of total revenues. The App Store represents $1.9 billion or 46.6%. So massive sales for Pokemon Go. It's not too much of a surprise. I find it kind of funny because every now and again I think like in front of like if I'm playing. When was it? It was earlier this year. I got Pokemon Go out and in front of my mum, and she's like, "Oh, Pokemon Go, is that still a thing? People still playing that?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, I just got back into it, and these numbers just show that Pokemon Go not only has it not gone anywhere. Obviously, it's not in the zeitgeist like it was, because I remember when Pokemon Go came out in 2016. It was a thing that I just had in the back of my head. Like, oh yeah, there's this little project Nintendo are involved with, and it seems like quite fun. I'll give it a download, and when the beta finally broke, and I'll give it a download, and I could not believe that not only were non-gaming people playing it or non-Pokemon people playing it, like literally everyone. I remember my soccer club, at training, like everyone had their phone out playing Pokemon Go. And people that I never expected to be involved with Nintendo or Pokemon or anything, they were right into it. They were going for walks at night or whatever. It was just such a phenomenon. I cannot believe it. It even reached like our small town here in South Australia. But not only has Pokemon Go sort of not gone anywhere, obviously the amount of people that were playing it in 2016, it's not quite at that or nowhere near that, but it's making more money than it ever has, mainly because of the global pandemic and some of the smart changes Niantic made to the game to accommodate people. But yeah, I guess for the most part, Niantic are doing a great job with Pokemon Go. There's some sort of weird changes they've made with Mega Evolution. A lot of people aren't that happy with it, including myself. I wouldn't say I'm not happy with it. I just sort of like shrug my shoulders and go, all right, I'm not interested, and I didn't really play it. The implementation where you have to like do raids, which involves spending money on passes to get mega energy to evolve your Pokemon for 4 hours. They changed it to 8 hours. They doubled it. So it pretty much lasts you for a day, but it just doesn't interest me to spend money on passes to just accumulate energy. Whereas I'll spend my money on a pass to catch a legendary Pokemon or, potentially get a shiny legendary Pokemon just to get energy. I'm like, nah, I'm not interested. I'd rather just catch it, and I'll be good with that. Like if they just treat Mega Evolutions like they treat Legendaries, and you just like catch it and it stays as a Mega, I would have been more happy with that. But regardless, and just really quickly to round out sort of the big numbers coming out of everywhere, Pokemon Masters EX has now been downloaded over 30 million times. So nothing too much. I'm a big Pokemon fan, but Pokemon Masters, they lost me at launch. I couldn't care less. At least Pokemon Go sort of interests me a bit more because it will be tied very soon into Pokemon Home and the mainline games. You can catch something, put it to Pokemon Home, and then put it into the mainline games. So catching shinies and all that, like it's all integrated as one thing. So that's what makes me interested in Go. But Pokemon Masters, I'm like, I don't care. Couldn't care less. But if you are involved with the game, to celebrate, they are giving out 1,500 gems for free. So if you want to get involved in some free gems, I know that game's been giving free gems out the kazoo because they've been making up for a lot of mistakes over the last year. But regardless, very cool. You get some free currency to spend on some unlocks. So right, that's all the financial stuff. So it's always interesting that just hear and read about and see how our one of our favorite gaming companies is going out there, and they're going very well. So cool, I guess. I'm hoping that this is more of a down year for at least just releases in general, and that we will see some, I guess, bigger and somewhat more exciting releases next year. Because really this year, the only big game we got was Animal Crossing, which has pretty much sustained Nintendo for the whole year. So I'm gonna have a bit of a swig of Coke because that was a lot of talking. It's 40 minutes of talking apparently, according to my clock here. Man. All right. We're back. Okay. So this one's from my Nintendo News, and this is quite a nice thing to see. I hadn't actually seen it before. I went through sort of the internet to sort of find out the latest news, but this is a really nice one. So it's an accessibility controller for Nintendo Switch has been made by Hori. So the article reads from my Nintendo News, much like Microsoft and its adaptive controller suited for games with limited mobility, Hori have released their own version for the Nintendo Switch. The Hori Flex can now connect to a TV or Nintendo Switch console and gives the option to remap the buttons via an app to make playing easier for those who can't play with a standard controller or find it difficult doing so. Currently, it's only available in Japan for approximately 180 yen. Just in brackets here, the adaptive controller currently retails at 75 pounds. It's pounds here. Jesus. I thought it was weird. So 75 pounds with no word on it being made available outside of its territory. Hopefully this will change, and this brilliant creation can be rolled out to all territories soon, allowing everyone to have the ability to play Nintendo's console. So it's a really great thing, because when Microsoft first revealed the adaptive controller, it was just like it's something that a lot of us don't think about very often. Just like someone who's injured or maybe has something with their hands or colorblind or just anything that prohibits them from using a normal controller. This is just a fantastic thing. Because even if you're an able person who can move about and all that, if you have an injury where you hurt your wrist or cut off a thumb or just have some awful accident and you're off work, or example, I can't really do much but play video games while I recover. You might not even be able to do that with just a normal controller. So having these options now where you can sort of have this controller where you can plug various things into it and allow you to input with a game is just amazing. And it's something that both PlayStation and Nintendo have been missing. Obviously with Microsoft going and making actually a first party officially made controller for the Xbox is just a phenomenal thing. And I had sort of no idea how it worked until I actually looked up a video only a few days ago where it's got two massive buttons and a D-pad, but you're able to plug in just on the back of it. It's just got heaps and heaps and heaps of different ports, and you're able to plug in separate sort of devices that act as each button. So it can be the left stick or the right stick or the triggers or each face button. And it's just amazing to see, and how it sort of broadens gaming to just millions more people, people that really want to play and unfortunately can't with a normal controller. And I've been thinking about it sort of the last few weeks as well, just with Nintendo being just accessible to multiple people. It's something that they really struggle with. Especially, we saw this a lot with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, where it had forced motion controls with the Pokeball Go Plus or the Joy-Cons. And for the most part, especially because Pokemon's been just it's a really easy game to play. Even looking at Pokemon Sword and Shield, you can play it with one Joy-Con, and you can use the trigger as the select button or the A button. So you can, someone who maybe has a hand injury or no hand at all or missing an arm or whatever it is, it's actually quite an easy game to play because you just move around with the stick and you can press A and that's how you select your attacks. So you move around and all that. So it's really quite done quite well. But with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, there's no way to actually interact with the Pokemon catching mechanic without motion controls, whether it's handheld mode, sort of using the gyroscope, or on the TV, we're actually flicking the Joy-Con. And I saw lots of things on Reddit and forums and that where people were saying like, they just can't play it. There's no way to play it. And that was especially disappointing because playing that game, there's no reason there can't be a different sort of control method for that game. There's no reason it couldn't just be like aiming a reticle, or no reason it couldn't be a touchscreen, just tapping the Pokemon. There's no reason for it at all. And that goes for a lot of Nintendo games that, have motion controls or whatever. Like, obviously, going back to the Wii, that console was very accessible. Like, people didn't know how to use buttons and sticks, but they know how to flick their wrist. But people that, couldn't do that, there was no other option to allow them to, play Wii Sports or, bowling, tennis and all that. So I think just all games going forward, people and development teams and that really need to think about how they can sort of implement more accessibility options to, just get people playing their games. Because whether you're using a controller or you're using one of these Hori controllers or the adaptive controller, it's just really important that anyone can jump in and play the games. Because I feel like people that maybe have these injuries or disabilities, they need video games more than anyone, just to sit back and get swept up in the magic developers put on screen for them. So, yeah, it's great that Hori are bringing this to Nintendo Switch without, because you could use the adaptive controller from Xbox on Switch, but it wasn't officially work. You had to use like a bit of a workaround for it. So this is also from My Nintendo News, and this is a real quick one. So there's a brand new Spirit Board event, and it's titled Hiding Your True Self. So if you're still playing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, then you may be happy to hear that there's an in-game Spirit Board event now underway. The event is called Hiding Your True Self, and it features spirits that put masks or hide their face. You'll be able to defeat them in the Spirit Board and earn even more Spirit points than usual. And like a lot of the time I brush over these and I don't really bring them up that much, but I think it's like a cool thing they do. But there was it last month or something, when I was actually doing the Spirit Board, because I'm still in the process of getting all the spirits in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I haven't played it in a fair while now, a few weeks. But when there was an event on, I was getting like so much more just currency and items and that from doing it. So it was actually like really, really useful. So if you're actually interested in doing the spirits, it's a great time to actually line it up with these events just to get more loot from when you're doing it. So just to bring that up. And this is a bit of a weird one. So also from My Nintendo News, the title is Amazon and Nintendo team up to randomly ship products in Mario-themed boxes. And the article reads, Nintendo has announced on My Nintendo Missions that it is teamed up with Amazon in North America to bring products with Super Mario Bros. Branded boxes for packaging. The boxes are dispatched completely at random for whatever online goods you purchase from Amazon and are only available in limited quantities. The company states that internationally purchasing Nintendo products via Amazon will not increase the possibility of receiving a Super Mario Bros. Branded box. So this is just a strange one. It's just obviously with Mario's 35th year anniversary, Nintendo are looking at different ways to celebrate this and different partners to partner up with to get their brand out there. But just randomly putting boxes out there to people who order off Amazon, it's just a bit strange. And you can sort of see people getting these boxes and just opening very carefully, getting like, I don't know, their shaver and their hair gel out of it and keeping their Nintendo box and like selling it online for God knows how much. These are probably going to be a bit of a collectible item just because they are random to get. It might be actually quite hard to get. But yeah, just a really quite a random thing to bring up. And this is a sort of non-Nintendo news in some ways, but this is from Nintendo Life, and they say, the title is Mass Effect Legendary Edition isn't coming to Nintendo Switch. And I'll just bring this up because Mass Effect Trilogy rumors were rumored to come to PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. And the Mass Effect series has actually been a series that I haven't played before, and with its backwards Jesus, I'm tripping over my words here. With its backwards compatibility on the Xbox Series X, I'm like, all right, I'm going to play through this series, at least try it, see if I enjoy it. Go through Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, because it's a series that a lot of people really, really love. I think it's a very important game over the last, series over the last over 10 years. When did Mass Effect 1 come out? Like 2007 or something? Not sure. But regardless, they're games that I wanted to play, and I'm like, all right, well, my best chances of actually getting through them would be on Switch. So if the trilogy comes to Switch, I'll be more than happy to pick it up there. And no, it's not coming to Switch. It's coming to PS4, PC, and Xbox One. Obviously, with the system's backwards compatibility, it's going to be on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So if you want the games that aren't remastered, but they're running at better frame rates, better resolutions, and all that fun stuff which comes with just having better hardware, you can play them there, but not Nintendo Switch, unfortunately, which kind of sucks. Just another little bit of interesting news. So back to my Nintendo news. Famitsu readers most wanted Nintendo games. So this is interesting, and I've got a point to bring up here too. So I'll just go through the top 10 most wanted games on Nintendo Switch. So at number 10, Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, which looks really cool actually. Number 9, Rune Factory 5. Number 8, Yushuri. Number 7, Dumaturu Densuru. Number 6, Bravely Default 2. Number 5, Bayonetta 3. Number 4, Shimigami Tensei 5. Number 3, Horror Warriors Age of Calamity. Number 2, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. And number 1 is Monster Hunter Rise. So it's not surprising that Monster Hunter's at the top, and there's 2 Legend of Zelda games there, and Bayonetta, Shimigami Tensei. It's all pretty obvious stuff for Japan. But I did want to bring up that they list here that. So this is from Famitsu. So going back to Bryce and I's pizza bet. So Bryce isn't here to sort of poo-poo this idea. But I want to put it to you guys in the audience, you guys who sat through, I don't know, was it our half an hour bicker a few months ago? But they do list here that Horror Warriors Age of Calamity is its own game, and that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 is its own game. So Bryce's argument of Age of Calamity is Breath of the Wild 2 is sort of sort of split up here. And I've been thinking since that sort of I guess a debate as well that Horror Warriors Age of Calamity, it's not even titled The Legend of Zelda. Like, I don't know. I definitely consider myself to have maybe won that debate, but I've just put it aside. It doesn't really matter. But I thought it was just a little funny thing to bring up because, like, yeah, there you go. So that brings us to the end of the news. So that was a pretty long bit of news there. But I want to I've been wanting to do this for a little while now, but just with time, and it takes a bit of time to organise the show, and having to do this sort of adds to it. So I haven't been able to do it the last few months, but I want to highlight some games that have came to Nintendo Switch eShop this week. So I've got 3 games here that sort of stood out to me. Obviously, there's a lot of games there, so I haven't been able to look into all of them and all that. But these are the ones where I've literally just looked at the title and go, all right, I'll choose that. And I've chosen them for different reasons. So the first one's Arcade Archives Petin Puru. So this stood out to me because the Arcade Archives series is just fantastic. Just putting old arcade games onto Switch to play. A lot of them have been like for the first time. You haven't been able to play them except for the actual arcade cabinet itself. So I don't know a lot about this, but Petin Puru is an action game released by Sunsoft in 1984. Take control of your character, Petin, and make use of plates to wipe out bugs and solve the interdimensional maze. You will need to master 4 different types of plates, all with their own characteristics. And just from the screenshots here, it looks like it's like a grid-based thing where you go around and whatever. I really don't know much about it, but just like if you're interested in that series, sort of remastering arcade games, it's pretty cool. And Tropico 6 is the next one. So Tropico 6 Nintendo Switch Edition includes the exclusive palace design, the captivating flamingo pond, something every dictator craves to impress his neighboring states, and a tourist costume for El Prez to enjoy those warm Caribbean nights accurately. So yeah, I just thought this was it's another sort of city building game. Sort of the last few ones that have came to Switch haven't ran all that hot. So if you're interested in Tropico 6, I definitely recommend just checking out reviews or gameplay or maybe your favorite Twitch stream or something like that, just to see how this game runs. But it is cool more of these games are coming to Switch because it is actually quite impressive that these games are now on a handheld system. And one of the ones that I'm actually kind of most excited about, I just had this as a list, and I just saw the list of games, and this game is called My Little Dog Adventure. And I'm like, oh, what is this? Like, surely this is like some shovelware. It looks, just a silly waste of time. But I went onto the Nintendo eShop page, and straight away I'm like, wow, this game is gorgeous. It's got like a really nice sort of papercraft art style. I'm like, wow, it looks really nice. And just the summary for the game on the eShop is, in Little Dog Adventure, you play as a little dog that discovers the world on its mission to find its way back home. It's a short, emotional, story-driven exploration game that will keep you invested with an immersive story and lovable characters. I'm like, that actually sounds quite good. Like the game looks beautiful. I haven't seen any gameplay or anything, but just pulling it up, seeing the screenshots, reading what it's about, seeing that it's 30% off at the moment. It's $10.50 on the Australian eShop. I'm like, wow. So I go and I Google it just to see some reviews, and it's not on Metacritic and there's no reviews for it, but currently on Steam, it's rated at an 8.10. So quite good. And I see that the developers are EpiXR Games. And just like reading from, I went to their website, and EpiXR Games is a small independent game development studio and game publisher that was founded in May 2019. We're a team of 5 and strive to create impactful, entertaining, and exciting game experiences. We use Unity 3D to create games, and our focus is on computer games as well as console games. The vision, we believe that video games can be a vital part of art, culture, and education. While those things play an important role in the creation of our games, and most importantly, important part is you. We're giving our best to put a smile on your face and brighten up your day with a daily dose of fun and entertainment. So yeah, just really cool. So a brand new development team of 5 people, and this game really caught my eye. Like, I clicked on it just expecting one of those typical shovelware things coming from like mobile, just like with a cute dog and whatever. But this looks really cool, and it's rated quite well on Steam. So you know what, I might actually put my money on this and talk about it next week or the next week I'm on a podcast. So yeah, it looks really cool. And if you are interested in getting it for 30% off before it goes back to $15, the sale ends on the 16th of November. So you've got what's the date? You've got pretty much a week when you listen to this, if you listen around the time the episode comes out. So pretty cool stuff. So that's definitely my recommendation for this week on Nintendo eShop, My Little Dog Adventure. Mind you, I haven't played it, but yeah, that's right up my alley. Just a really, especially if it's like a 2-hour adventure, you go through different areas. It's got a nice little dog story, all about that stuff. So yeah, that brings us to sort of Reggie's Rec Room. And Reggie, Bryce sort of teased him the other week. He went to his room and he sort of, no, well, maybe next week. So this week we're going to go to Reggie's Rec Room, and we're going to be talking about what Nintendo needs to or could do in 2021 to compete with Microsoft and Xbox against their new console. So Reggie, take it away.
Hi, Nintendo fans. Reggie here. Thank you for your never-ending support, for giving me a mushroom kingdom full of incredible memories that I will never forget. Ever.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Reggie. Thank you so much for laying us in your room. It's very nice in here, as always. You could pick up your cans and bottles, though. We've got a recycling bin. We put it just outside the door for you, so you could do that. So I'm going to take this opportunity to have another swig of this Coke. I've got to say, like, I do love Coke way too much. Like, I really enjoy just like a nice bottle of Coke. And, yeah. I don't know if I'm addicted to it. I wouldn't say I am, but maybe I am. Maybe I am. I don't know. Regardless, I'm drinking it now, so what are you going to do? Alright, so this isn't going to be a super long topic or anything, but it is just interesting that, you know, since 2017, Nintendo's sort of had, I guess, the run of like all the hype and excitement behind their console without having too many distractions from them, really. Like in 2017, the Switch came out, and since then, like the PS4's been trucking along and doing awesomely, doing its thing. But it's, you know, on a completely different highway to, I guess, what the Switch is. And, you know, the Xbox, you know, they're doing what they're doing. They had the Xbox One X come out, but once again, that's just a completely different thing to what Nintendo's doing. And not to say that the Series X and PlayStation 5 aren't completely different, because they definitely are. You're not buying a PlayStation 4 the same reason you might be picking up a Switch or a Switch Lite, obviously. Just completely different things. But going into 2021, there is definitely sort of an argument that they're competing for, you know, people's money, because money is limited. With coming out the global pandemic, you know, a lot of people would have lost their jobs. They would have not have the income to go and spend on multiple gaming platforms, or a gaming platform, or just games in general, or whatever it might be. So these companies are definitely sort of out there sort of trying to win mindshare, I guess. And I have seen like people in our community being like, like they're worried for Nintendo that, oh no, what's Nintendo going to do? Yeah, their graphics are nowhere near as good or whatever. And it is funny how it always happens. Like every time a new console comes out, people always go back to like, oh no, Nintendo's in trouble. But not once has it been what Microsoft or any other company have done to affect Nintendo sales. It's always been Nintendo to affect their own sales. So like the PS3 or the PS4 or the Xbox 360 or the Xbox One, they had no impact or barely any impact on the Wii U. The Wii U sold how it sold because of Nintendo and Nintendo alone. No one looked at the Wii U and said like, oh yeah, I'm that's worth the money compared to a PlayStation or an Xbox. So yeah, but I do just want to put the olive branch out to you guys. I want to find out what you guys think about what Nintendo needs to do to stand out in 2021 and compete with the PS5 and Xbox Series X, mainly because, like, I guess at the moment all of the sort of light is on those guys just because they have brand new consoles coming out. But, you know, regardless, I don't think it's anything to worry about. I think Nintendo are definitely doing their own thing, but they do need some big games to sort of make sure people are paying attention to their platform. I think Sony next year are going to have a great year, just with Ratchet and Clank and going on to God of War. If that does come out, that will be very easily delayed, I think. But they're slated to have just a great launch year. So if Nintendo can come out and go, all right, we've got, Breath of the Wild, we've got all these other games coming out, which hopefully they do. Hopefully they do. So yeah, I don't have too much more to say on that, but it's just something I was thinking about. And like I see a lot of people just going, oh no, a bit worried about Nintendo, but yeah, they're fine. So, that brings us to the end of the episode. We fit all that in a little bit over an hour, so pretty cool stuff. Thank you very much for spending your time with me, hearing me talk into your ears. I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate your support of our podcast here at the House of Mario. It's one of my favorite things to do, putting out this podcast each week. And it's definitely something that makes me smile, and I hope it brings a bit of smiling to you guys, especially with everything that's going on with the US election, coronavirus, etc., etc. Sorry to remind you about those things, but I hope you enjoyed the last hour with me. So, guys, thank you very much for listening to this episode of The House of Mario, episode 167. If you enjoyed the show, you can leave us a review like Bungholio did. Good old Bungholio. Thank you very much. It really does help us with the algorithms and all of that on your podcast service of choice. And you can follow me on Twitter at iDruby. You can follow the show at The House of Mario. And you can follow my usual co-host, Bryce DeWitt, at IVRevan. If you'd like to join our little Discord community, there is a link in the show notes. So go and join us. Talk with all of our good mates over there. It's been a bit quiet the last week, but I really haven't had much time to sit in there and talk about games, unfortunately. It's been... I've been getting home about 8:30 at night, so it's straight in the shower and straight to bed for Drewy, and it will be next week as well. Except for going up to for late night shopping, going to get my PS5 from EB Games. Really looking forward to that. That is what's keeping me going. It's been keeping me going for the last 6 weeks or so. Just really looking forward to next generation of gaming. Cannot wait. And a huge thank you to our Patreon producers, Luke, Sam, Hay, and DJ. No apology for last week, or 2 weeks ago, for getting DJ. Really sorry about that, mate. But super appreciate you guys and everyone else who supports us on Patreon at patreon.com/iDruby. Very much appreciated. It helps us more than you guys would ever know. So thank you very much. And this week's Nintendo Jukebox is a recreation of Super Mario 64's file select theme by Hyper Potions. And this is really cool because Hyper Potions, I first found them because they did music for Sonic Generations, which came out almost 3 years ago now. So they do absolutely fantastic remixes and just original music and everything in general. Just really, really fantastic. And if you want to check it out, you can find it on Apple Podcasts. You can find, not on Apple Podcasts, sorry. You can find it on Apple Music, Spotify, or SoundCloud. They actually did a whole EP, actually, with different Mario remixes. And then the EP is called Mario Remixes. So if you want to go and check it out, I've left links to all of your favorite music platforms in the show notes. So guys, until next week, the doors to the House of Mario are closed. Catch you later.